Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Thursday, the 2nd of October. Starting with the FTSE 100, which is doing what we wanted it to do, which was head for record highs. In fact, it's doing it a bit earlier than we might have expected. So 95.60, the top of the channel there, which we were looking for by the end of this month. It looks like we might even get there by the end of next week, something like that. But very strong candle yesterday through the old highs, 93.57. So that's a strong signal. And the longer we stay on the right side of 9400, the quicker. Obviously, we're looking for 95.60. And probably very soon we'll be able to look for a fresh higher target on leading UK stocks. In the meantime, we're looking at the DAX, and here finally broken out of that little range between the floor of the channel, currently 23,500, and the 50-day moving average 23,900. In fact, gapped through or gapped above the 50-day line today. Top of the channel there up to 25,700. We're looking for that by the end of this month, while we remain above the 50-day moving average. So things panning out quite nicely there. There is a rug pull, the floor of the channel there, 23,400, the worst we're expecting. Moving along to the Dow, and here there were some doubts about the shutdown, etc., but they seem to have disappeared. It's tending to find support now intraday on the right side of 46,000, and while we're doing that, and while we're resting above the support line there in the RSI window at 55, we're looking for a straight move up to 48,000 at the top of that May 2024 rising trend channel by the end of this month. Any rug pulls hopefully will not be any lower than the 50-day line, 45,200. In fact, if we see a rug pull towards that area, that probably would be a buy the dip situation, as it was at the beginning of last month when we temporarily went below the 50-day line. Onto the cryptos, which I believe are looking a little bit better now. Here you can see that the Bitcoin chart, we're just breaking the neckline resistance around 118, and above that, looking for the top of the rising trend channel there from the end of February, as high as 132,000, and we're looking for that by the end of this month, which is pretty dynamic, pretty great. And the other point to note is that we've broken that resistance line in the RSI window at 57. And that is also a continuation signal on the upside. So basically looking for the highs, or new highs, in fact, while we're above that 50-day line now, especially while we're above 118. Onto Ethereum, which gave people a bit of a kick in the teeth, let's say, over the course of the second half of September, after all the positive hype that there was, the hype there was, in fact, for this market. Here you can see there's that resistance line there in the RSI window. That needs to be broken at RSI 56. We're already just about breaking the 50-day line. In fact, we've just broken it there around 43.90. Above that, looking for this market to head up as high as 5,300 and the top of that rising trend channel from July as soon as the beginning of, rather, the end of this month. So let's see if Ethereum can finally step up to the plate. On the downside, hopefully any dips towards 4,000 or the 4,000 to 4,100 area will be the limit of that, any pullbacks or setbacks. Onto gold, which obviously has had a victory run, and everyone very excited. We've now broken the top of that rising trend channel at 38.60. Above that, looking for an October resistance line, 1 year resistance line projection, 41.60 by the end of next month. And we're looking for that while we remain on the right side of 3,800, which at the moment looks as though it is possible. Next on the list is the situation at the stocks, and starting off with a stock which I wasn't never expecting to look at again, but the lesson so far this year is that you can't rule anyone totally out, or I suppose also you can't rule anyone totally in either. Here you can see there's been another spike in Argo blockchain. It may just be like the one we had in July, so just sold into immediately, but this looks slightly better in the sense that we've had 3 or 4 days of blue candles, and the key here will be to get through the 200-day moving average at 2.97 pence. We haven't been above that for well over a year. We might never get there, but at least the purpose of this exercise is just to point out that Argo, if this wasn't Argo, you'd actually be thinking this is going to 4.5 pence at the top of that rising trend channel base. Obviously, back below the 50-day line at 2 pence would kill the situation. Onto Bezant, which has been gradually and powerfully building up over the recent past. You can see that we're up again today, but the break high already been with the break of resistance around 0.03. I haven't really looked back since then. And the target here up to that 2023 resistance line projection as high as 0.077. And we're looking for that by the end of this month, or hopefully much sooner than that. The giveaway in terms of the strength here is the way that we haven't been below the 50-day moving average since back in June, and you've had those support points above the rising 50-day line. That tends to be a strong indicator on the upside, as it was in the case of Actor, which I looked at a few days ago. Here, the last dip was above a rising 50-day line. Moving on to Catenai, which is doing what we wanted it to do and doing it rather better probably than we were expecting. Here we had the twin signals of RSI 50 rebounds, which we had earlier last month, plus consolidation above a rising 50-day line, which has been basically in place since second half of last month. We've already blasted through the first target there at 0.5 pence. I did talk about the resistance in the upper 50s above 0.58. We could be looking at not only retesting the best levels of April, but actually even up to 0.9 pence by the end of next month. So looking very strong indeed, especially while we remain on the right side of 0.5 pence. On to E-Star, which I haven't looked up for quite a while, and here looks like we're building quite well. Hints of both finding support above a rising 50-day line, or at least a 50-day line, and also an RSI 50 rebound. So looking for the top of that channel there. 2.75 pence, maybe as soon as the end of next month, or even sooner. 80 Mile is a stock which had some decent flurry to the upside last month. It looks like it's back again with this W-shaped breakout, breaking through 0.53. Above that, we're looking for a retest of last month's resistance, 0.78, by the end of this month. And you can see, obviously, we've had that RSI 50 plus rebound in the oscillator window. We already had the golden cross last month as well to make things look more exciting. On to Gunsynd, which has seems to have wise friends and wise backers in terms of commentators on X. Here you can see the initial target there, 0.21, is fast approaching, but we're looking for 0.25 by the end of this month. Presumably, or any fundraisers and other antics are already done now, so above 0.16 now, looking for 0.25. The other point to note is that, or points to note, is that we've just had we're just having a golden cross at the moment between the 50 and 200-day moving averages. And also, we've had multiple RSI 50 plus rebounds in the oscillator window, which is also a sign of accumulation and momentum building. Moving on to a stock which I haven't looked at for ages. Well, I'm not sure if I looked at it at all, actually, but Golden Rock Global. Here, a rather strange chart, which doesn't actually have very much in it, but making lots of guesses here about the trajectory. And the guess here is that we're in a rising trend channel from August. Top of the channel there at 6 pence. We're looking for that by the end of this month, while we remain above the now rising 50 and 200-day moving averages at 3 pence. Ideally, we don't even go lower than 3.25 pence recent support. But if that works, I would be very pleased with the charting skills on that situation. Speaking of charting skills, I think Kefi has been called up here from actually the 0.5 pence area back in end of July, beginning of August. Looked as though that was the base. We had an uptrend line in the RSI window, and we were gapping to the upside there as well, around the 0.52, 0.53 level. So the shares have more than doubled since then. Rising trend channel, which I drew recently and just a few days ago. Top of the channel there, heading for 1.75, which is what I said we were looking for by the end of this month. And it looks as though Kefi will be able to deliver. Ideally, we stay on the right side of the previous target there, 1.1 pence, which looks perfectly doable. On to Nuformix, which has also perhaps exceeded expectations, or did until today's slight pullback from the 0.36 level. Still looking for a best case scenario target here as high as 0.5 pence by the end of this month, only while we remain above 0.26, the previous target on the shares. Hopefully the shares can do that as well. Great run up for Pensana in the recent past. And here you can see that we're still grinding higher. We've got this already hit the first target there around £1.10. Above that, we're looking for the upper parallel of that rising trend channel as high as £1.60 and looking for that by the end of this month, while we remain on the right side of £1.30. On to the last two. The first one is Pulsar, which obviously had a breakthrough and an excellent announcement yesterday. And as you can see, the shares have stayed above the 28 pence, which was the sort of suggested support level. Actually, stayed well above that, so that is a good sign. And hopefully, this can do the kind of move with its good news that companies like Guardian Metal and others have done over the recent past. Really is time for this to take off, having proven what it's got underground. 37 pence the initial target, while we're above the 28 pence level. Finishing off with a stock which is also fills one with trepidation, largely because there either tends to be a sharp sell-off, as there was back in November, or a fundraise or whatever it is. But I think at least for the next few days, we'll have no fundraisers at UOG, and also we had that recent announcement of the management aligning themselves to shareholders in terms of options, awards, etc. Here we've had a clear double RSI 50 rebound, so that makes it look as though the recent break of 0.18 resistance will be a proper move, and we should see the shares up to 0.33 by the end of this month. Hopefully that one will work. We've got the 50 and 200 day lines both rising as well, so as well as recent positive news, or that alignment there, the performance related option award. We also have a decent looking chart as well. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.